So, welcome for joining this session. This is Certified in Cybersecurity, the final session in our four-part series that we have been doing free from Pinnacle Learning Centers. This program, of course, is done through ISC2, where you can actually go online and register for the program, but you don't normally get an instructor with your package. So we're happy today to be here with you and to share with you. What we'd like to do is go over some of the important points. Just let me know if you can hear my voice. You can put it in the chat if you can actually hear my voice. I'd really like to see if we can open up the microphones today for this session. Just hoping that everyone can actually just, refrain from taking over the microphone. But we will start by first going through what we have as some of the key points as it relates to being in the program. So the Certified in Cybersecurity course is really about understanding cybersecurity at the entry level. And the entry level really is about allowing you to have a certification that is valid. It is something that is recognized globally. You can go to anywhere in the world being a member of ISC2. There are jobs that people do remotely in cybersecurity, especially because ISC2 is a brand that is known all around the world. So I encourage you to take advantage of everything that has been provided for you. And I encourage you to try to complete the program and take the exam once you are ready. So in terms of the course content and some of the areas that you should focus on, we want to make sure that you are ready to take the exam. So the course itself is really focused on the key components of what would make a cybersecurity analyst. But you need to understand first, what is ISC2? It's a non-profit organization. ISC2 operates as a non-profit entity focused on improving cybersecurity profession through education and certification. It is recognized for its rigorous certifications programs. Of course, what is called the gold standard is the CISSP. And also the next stage I encourage you to go to is called the SSCP. And I will be providing additional information on that for those of you that are interested in pursuing the SSCP once you finish the CC. The organization provides educational resources to help other institutions. So once you have passed this course, it's going to demonstrate that you have a commitment to cybersecurity. It's going to validate your knowledge. It's very different than going online and taking, a free course and then putting it on your resume. ISC2 Certified in Cybersecurity is very well recognized. On Indeed, you'll actually see it, and sometimes on LinkedIn and other platforms, you're seeing the request for this entry-level certification. And it's a lot of employers are using this for recruitment. So you're going to enhance your job prospects. You're going to increase your earning potential. You now have a professional recognition. So I hope, again, that you'll connect on LinkedIn with me, build that network, become part of the ISC2 network. We, in the past couple of weeks, have looked at security concepts, we've looked at risk management, we've looked at incident response, we've looked at network security, cloud security, application security, security operations. We've looked at how we are going to understand these real world applications, or how would we use this if we are in an organization as a cyber analyst or somebody in what is called governance. If we are in a software development division. Now, the exam, unfortunately, some people have already taken the exam before they were ready for it, and most have not passed. So you should wait until you're ready, but remember, you only have a certain amount of time from when you register to do the exam. Plus, the knowledge that you have learned, it begins to diminish if you're not using it. So you need to balance off. Some of you will want to do the exam next week. Some of you will want to do it in the next couple of months, but I encourage you to try and do it and stick to the plan. So you need to understand the format. You're going to look at questions, understand that it's focused on core domains, and we're going to go over some of those today. We need to understand, of course, that the exam is multiple choice. The exam is covering everything that we have discussed. It's going through the domains and some of the key areas that we have highlighted. So to prepare for it, we need to understand what is the structure and how we should approach it. Now, we've been going through some of the questions and we'll go through some more, but they are scenario-based questions. So you can apply your knowledge to that particular situation. There are multiple choice, and it's going to be used to evaluate your knowledge across various topics. You have true or false questions to see whether or not, you can answer a question straightforward. So the minimum score is going to be what you have to achieve. And it's going to be essential that you are going to have to review all of the prerequisites. The ISC2 Certified in Cybersecurity exam consists of 100 multiple choice questions, and candidates are allotted 2 hours, 120 minutes to complete it. We know that this started 2 years ago, but as of October 1st, 2025, the exam will transition to the computerized adaptive testing format. And the CAT format adapts the difficulty of questions based on the test taker's performance, aiming to provide a more precise assessment of their competency. The exam is available in different formats, different languages: Chinese, Japanese, German, and Spanish. And the exams have to be done through person view. So we encourage you to create a structured plan. You should set goals. So break down the 5 exam domains into manageable topics. Use a calendar and plan when to cover each topic and schedule review sessions. You should use the official resources. Study the official ISC2 CC training course. Review the exam outline. Understand each domain. Join study groups whenever possible. Active learning techniques. And of course, we have the flashcards like Anki or Quizlet to reinforce how you're studying. Connect with other people who are here. You can put your connections in the chat so that you can create your own study groups. so that you can test each other, so that you can build your own teams and complete some of the sample exams. Track your progress using a tracker, revisit weak areas, and before you do the exam, when we look at the concept of exam day readiness, take at least one timed mock exam and ensure your familiarity with Pearson VUE. Prepare your documents, carry your IDs with you. You have to verify who you are. And Pearson VUE will tell you this. There is a cost if you are rescheduling exams. Make sure that you're employing effective study techniques for the exam. So structured plan, organized and focused, use the official text, online courses and webinars anywhere that you can get the additional materials, and do your practice exams and assessments. Be familiar with the exam format and identify improvement areas. So for exam day, best practices are gather the necessary materials, arrive early, reduce the stress, reduce the stress, reduce the stress. Manage your time during the exam. Very important. Allocate your time wisely and pace yourself as you go through it. There are relaxation techniques such as deep breathing that will help you. It can effectively manage your pre-exam anxiety. And you can have a positive mindset. Maintaining a positive attitude and confidence in your preparation is crucial for effective stress management. So in conclusion, we have the Certified in Cybersecurity course establishes a solid foundation for aspiring cybersecurity professionals. We have effective study techniques. Implementing these effective study techniques can significantly enhance your understanding and retention of cybersecurity concepts. And we have the best practices for exam day. Following best practices for the exam day will help increase your chances of success. So let me stop there and see whether or not we can open this up for a conversation. Okay. If you want to say something, I think please use your hand and then I'll recognize you. So, David, you had a question. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks again for these sessions, Mr. Nelson. My question is, would you provide resources such as mock questions for us or mock exam questions?
Have you logged in and set up your account on ISC2?
Yes, I have.
Have you been getting questions as you go through each module?
Yes.
Yep, that's the ones that you should follow.
Okay.
Right? So between that and Quizlet, those
Yeah,
would
the
be,
flashcards.
yeah, that'll keep you on the right path in terms of the direction of the type of questions that you should be asking. Okay. We are going to go through, I did share some earlier today, and we will go through some of them so you kind of get a sense of what to stay along. And then if you email me after, I'm going to be providing some links to some other folders that might have information that I'll be putting in there. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions before we start the question and answer section? Okay. So we looked at a couple of questions, and anyone feel free to put it in the chat or to, unmute yourself, and then you can provide your answer. Okay, it's a great exercise for us to go through. So what is the primary purpose of information security? Anybody can answer. You can unmute yourself and you can answer.
Can you repeat the question?
What is the primary purpose of information security? And I see to protect people and assets, protect information. So the answer is to protect confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. One of the questions that came up is, I just joined the community today and it didn't let me join a study group. So, Christina, I'm not sure. When you say it didn't allow you to join a study group, are you speaking about ISC2 didn't allow you to join a study group when you logged in? I'd love to get your answer. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not getting Christina's. Okay, so if you go to ISC, you will get the materials, you get everything else to study, but you would not be part of a class on there because this was the only class that was being done free. Okay. Next question is, define the CIA triad. Does anybody want to try that one? Define the CIA triad.
It should be what you just said, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Yep. Very good. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Number 3, which principle ensures that only authorized users have access to data?
Is it admin?
Which principle ensures that only authorized users have access to data?
Is it integrity?
No, integrity is going to be that it wasn't changed. Confidentiality is going to make sure that it's going to protect it, that only authorized users are going to have access to it. So it's confidential. Your information is confidential with me. Integrity is whether or not it has been changed. Available means that you can get access to your information. Okay? So if we had a bank account, the bank keeps your bank balance confidential. The bank keeps the number or the amount of money that you have in your account, that it doesn't change. That's the integrity hasn't changed. And that it is available. That means availability. That's the triad. Okay. So number 4, what is the difference between a threat and a vulnerability? Does anybody want to try that? A threat and a vulnerability. Okay. A threat is a potential danger, and a vulnerability is a weakness. Christina, if you finish the final assessment on ISC2's site and you got a good score, then that means you're ready to register for the exam on the ISC2 site. If you feel confident to do the exam, you only get to do the exam once, where it's actually free. So just bear that in mind. So if you want to test yourself again, but you only get one shot at it, otherwise the next time will be $199. What does the principle of least privilege mean?
Users are giving minimum access.
Users are granted the minimum access. Correct. Wonderful. Which of the following is not a core component of the CIA triad? And that usually is accountability. Accountability is not a core component of the CIA triad. What is defense in depth? This defense in depth is going to be called using multiple levels of security. Yep, Christina, that's a good score, but you know, I would definitely keep trying. You don't have to get 100%, but you're definitely on the right track. What is an example of a physical security control? Everybody should be trying this or putting it in the chat. Door lock, fence, CCTV. Wonderful. That's great. Access controls. Yes. What is the primary focus of cybersecurity? What is the primary focus? And again, that's the protection of digital assets and systems. And just to go back through this one more time, which term refers to the protection of data from unauthorized disclosure? Unauthorized disclosure. Perfect. Confidentiality. So domain 1, those are the key areas to study. Now we know with domain 2, we're looking at business continuity, disaster recovery, and incident response. So what is the main goal of business continuity planning? What is the main goal?
Mitigating risk.
To ensure the continuation of business operations during a disruption. Define recovery time objective. Define recovery time objective. Somebody sounds like they're sleeping.
Is
Okay.
it the maximum time allowed for recovering a system?
Maximum allowable downtime before operations are restored. Okay. What is the first step in the incident response life cycle? What's the first step?
It's the preparation.
First step is preparation, correct. And what is a business impact analysis? What is a business impact analysis?
Identifying the impacted areas or the operations that may disrupt the business.
Sounds good, right? Analysis to determine critical functions and impacts of disruption. Okay, let's go a little deeper. What is a tabletop exercise? What is a tabletop exercise? It's a simulated discussion based scenario to test response plans. You get together a group of people representing different departments, finance, right? Where they do a mock threat type assessment. Yes, where they're sitting down and they're planning for it. So yes. Which document outlines how to restore IT services after a disruption? Is that a business continuity plan or a disaster recovery plan?
Disaster recovery plan.
Perfect. You're getting there. What is the purpose of an incident response plan? Incident response plan.
To prepare
For
any incidents or threats that happen.
right? Guide the organization through handling security incidents. What's the difference between the RPO and the RTO? RPO versus the RTO. What is an RTO?
RTO is the maximum time that maximum downtime which is allowed.
Right? How
And
fast to recovery time objective.
yeah,
And what is the RPO? Recovery
It's-
point objective, right? What is that for?
that's amount of data loss that can happen.
That is acceptable. Keyword
acceptable.
acceptable, right? And which team is responsible for executing the incident response plan?
The team that was selected to respond, the leadership.
Yeah, but they have a specific name. Sometimes they call it the C, and then
See,
the
was it
CIO. CISO.
CCERT, Cybersecurity Incident Response Team, or just IRT, Incident Response Team. Okay? IRT, Incident Response Team, is a team responsible for executing the plan. You have to be a member of that team. You have to be selected. What role does communication play in a disaster recovery process? They like to ask you this question because it is saying that it ensures coordination and transparency during recovery, not only with your internal employees, but with your customers. You have to have the right communication plan to share with them to comfort employees and to comfort the customers, to make them aware, and also, in some cases, advise the regulatory bodies. Okay. So that was domain 2. Your focus is business continuity, disaster recovery, and incident response. For domain 3, you have access control concepts. So what is MFA?
Multi-factor authentication.
Multi-factor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Multi-factor authentication. It is something that you have, something that you are, something that you know. So we know about passwords. We know something that you are is retina, hand, biometrics. And we know that something that you have can be a badge reader. Okay, but it has to have more than one factor. So the question that you get is something that's trying to trick you by saying, is a retina scan and a fingerprint multi-factor authentication? And it's not, because that's one factor, right? That's something that you are. If it says, if you have a token and a badge reader, is that multi-factor? No, it's not, because that's something that you have. So you need to remember to break it down, because multi-factor has to be more than one in the different categories. Okay. Which type of access control model is based on user roles?
Role-based access control?
Fantastic, right? Great. Roxana, see your answer there. Great. What are the 3 primary authentication factors? And I just said it. 3 based, 3 types. Something you,
Something you have,
and something you are. All right? Something you have, something you know, something you are. Okay? What is the purpose of access control? And it's
The right people have access to the right information, nothing more.
Right, Adam, to limit access to authorized users only. Okay? And how would you define single sign-on? You go to work, you log in, and what happens? Do you have to log in? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a type of
and
it's a type of authentication that you sign in once and have access to multiple applications.
Looks like you have my answer right there. One-time login provides access to multiple systems. Which access control model enforces access based on labels and classifications? Another way they could put that is, which one are you forced to follow, or you must follow in an organization? Mandatory access control. So remember, go back through your mandatory access control MAC, go back through your discretionary access control, DAC, which is when the manager or the owner of the data has the discretion to choose who can access the information. And we have role-based access control, which is based on your role. You're in payroll, then you can focus on payroll only. You can't get into finance or into IT. That's your role. Okay? What is the difference between identification and authentication? Identification is
Identifying who the
claiming
user
an
is.
identity. Okay? But if I authenticate somebody, I am doing what?
Verifying.
Verifying it. Correct. What is the function of a password policy? A password policy is going to enforce a rule for creating and using passwords. And I'm going to digress for a second here. Remember, we discussed 3 different types of controls. What are the 3 types of controls?
Physical, technical,
Physical.
Technical and administrative.
administrative.
Okay, so you got that right. So if I had a password policy, what control would that be?
Administrative.
Administrative. RBAC, I'm having a hard time. So role-based access control. Roles are based on particular functions that you have in an organization. The key to it is that if you had an organization that had a few hundred people in there, if you had to create a template for access control every time somebody was coming to join your finance team, it would take hours, if not days. So they create a template for that particular role that says you have access to the finance module, Excel spreadsheets, maybe the benefits page from HR. It's based on that particular role that you have. So the control is already established based on the function or role you have in the organization. So I see you have FAC. What does FAC stand for? You can still type it out where you see FAC. Has anybody else come across formal access control? Is this something that you've come across while inside of the ISC2 module? Or something you've read somewhere else? Has anybody else come across FAC or this formal or facility access control? Okay. And what, does anybody know what the question specifically was? Did they want to share what the structure was of that question?
I just found something on it, but it's not a question. It says the faculty access control refers to the systems and procedures used to regulate who can enter or exit a building or specific areas within it. It's a cornerstone of the physical security, especially in government, corporate, and critical infrastructure environments.
Yep, it sounds pretty straightforward as it relates to physical access controls then. unless they structure it in terms of comparing it to discretionary access control, role-based access control, mandatory access control as more formal as against the facility access control. But I'm happy that you shared that, Melissa. Okay, let's continue. So, what's a common example of something you are? Anybody wants to give an example of something that you are?
Fingerprint.
Fingerprint, yep. Facial recognition.
Facial recognition. Retina scanning.
Retina scanning. Okay, so if you see two of them appear in the same question, you know that you couldn't use those two as multi-factor.
Okay.
And what is the risk of password reuse? And it simply means increases the exposure if one account is compromised, meaning I use my password for my work, but I use it to log into Facebook. I use it to log into LinkedIn. I use it to log into different applications. So if I have a breach on my one password, it's increasing the risk. Okay, it increases the exposure. So we know that when we're looking at 3, access 3 is focused on access control primarily. Now, domain 4 is network security. So what is the primary function of a firewall?
Is it to block or allow it? Is it?
Monitor and block unauthorized network access.
Okay.
But you are correct in terms of it blocking and allowing.
Right.
Because
Okay.
you have your block and your allow list. And right, Christina, to filter traffic. Okay. What is the difference between IDS and IPS?
IDS, it detects and alerts. So it detects threat and it also alerts administrators, whereas IPS, it detects and prevents threats.
Perfect. IDS detection only, IPS detection and prevention, and usually it's called an IDPS, intrusion detection and prevention system. But yes, good answer. So number 33 was define a DMZ in network security.
Demilitarized zone?
Yes. And it's a network segment that acts as a buffer between internal and external networks. Number 34 was, what is the purpose of encryption in network communications?
Converting.
So encrypting the data, or I mean, not having any exposure to the actual
Converting simple text to
content.
cybertext.
So bring it back to primarily to the CIA. Okay?
So to keep things confidentiality.
Right? And if encryption is keeping it in a structure that cannot be penetrated, and even if it's penetrated, you can't read or see what is in there, then you can't change it. And if you can't change it, that means what stays intact. As David has said, you can't change
Integrity.
integrity, right? Okay? So you're protecting confidentiality and integrity during the transmission because I'm using encryption to transmit. Number 35 had Name a common protocol used to securely transfer files. SFTP, Pratful. Okay, David, Aaron, you're right. What about FTPS? There we go, Christina. Okay, number 36 has, what is a VPN used for?
To create a secure connection between a remote user and
Are you seeing my paper? Are you seeing my?
no.
All right. Creates a secure encrypted connection over a public network. So you are right. Very good answer. Number 37 said, what port does HTTPS use? So you have to remember your ports. That's what this question is saying.
443.
Port 443. Great, Aaron. Okay. What is port scanning? What is port scanning?
Checking which ports are actively open or being used.
Technique used to identify open ports on a system. Great. And what is a MAC address?
The physical address of a device, the BIA, the burn-in address from the factory.
Unique hardware address on a network interface. Unique hardware address of a network interface. And number 40, what's a common wireless security protocol?
UDP.
WPA.
WPA2. Great. So now we know network security, domain 4. And I think you guys are doing really great. And if you stay on this path, you're ready to do the exam. What is the purpose of security awareness training?
To educate us about cyber threats and how to avoid them.
Right? Educate the users to recognize and respond to security threats. And define social engineering.
Exploiting human weakness to get private information.
Manipulation too, right?
Yeah.
So phishing, spoofing, right? Social engineering comes in different ways, using humans to hack. But the key thing is manipulation, right? Building trust in many cases. But social engineering, regularly, we see what is patch management. What is patch management?
Updating the firmware of their software or
right? Regularly applying updates to do what?
remove
To patch
vulnerability.
vulnerabilities.
To fix or patch vulnerabilities. Correct. And why are security audits important?
It keeps a business compliant, up to date.
Ensure compliance and identify risk. So yes, you would know how to pick out the right words in the multiple choice, so you're correct. What is the difference between a policy and a procedure? Which one is a higher level?
Policy.
The policy.
The
Okay.
procedure is taken off of the policy.
And it has specific steps. And what type of control would it be?
Administrative control.
Administrative control. Wonderful. What is a 0-day vulnerability?
A vulnerability that hasn't been used.
A vulnerability that has not been identified for a long time.
Or just completely unknown, right?
Yeah.
And unknown to all vendors, to everyone. A vulnerability that is unknown. What is the purpose of antivirus software?
To remove
The
any
Trojan viruses.
And
to
how
remove
would
any
it
known
work?
threats.
Right, Megan says to prevent, but how would it know? What's the first step an antivirus would do?
Identify, kind of,
Detect the
System
anomalies.
scanning.
running it along known, viruses in a database. And
if it wasn't a known virus, what would that then be?
a 0-day.
You got it, right? So it's detecting and removing malware. That's what the antivirus is doing, okay? What's an example of a logical security control?
Encryptions?
Firewall.
Firewalls,
User
yes.
authentication?
Sorry, what was that one?
User authentication?
Yeah, passwords,
Yeah.
firewalls.
Encryptions?
Those are all correct.
IDPs, like IDSs, IPSs.
IDS, IPS, next-gen firewalls. But just remember, the tricky part of the question is going to be, can you have an effective technical or logical control without the administrative control? Because the firewall isn't of any real use if you don't have an administrative policy that says who to allow and who to block. So the question can be constructed in a way to confuse you. So you really have to just stick to what you know, right? That the firewall and the intrusion detection system, anything that has to be calibrated, anything that has to be, is going to have an alert, is going to be based on your administrative policy. Otherwise, remember, we have over 300,000 viruses that come out every day. So you would be sitting up all night trying to put out every single file. You have to calibrate your alerts based on your organization to say, okay, I'm willing to investigate these types of alerts. I just want to deal with the critical items, and it might come down to maybe 10 critical items for the day, and you spend your day investigating where is it going, whose laptop is it on, is it real, how do I quarantine? But if you were to try and deal with everything, then you're going to have a problem. You'll be exhausted, okay? And what is a security baseline? And I think we're getting into the concept of configuration, but what is a security baseline?
It's the recommended configurations or the default configurations. that helps
Minimum,
to,
right?
yeah, minimum configurations required from security.
Correct answer. But let's just always make sure that we lock in the minimum with it, right? Minimum standard for secure configurations. And why is logging important in cybersecurity? They call it the backbone of cybersecurity. Why is logging so important?
It gives you everything. Track everything. Exactly. Track everything.
It's easier to analyze and detect pretty much who logged in, who didn't, so you know that if there is a potential threat that's about to appear, or if a threat happened, then you know pretty much what to look for.
Because if you're not logging, then how do you know who was in the building at 2 o'clock in the morning? And if you're not logging all of the incidents that are happening, how do you then investigate when an incident does occur? How do you look back? And if you're not looking back, how are you going to prevent things happening in the future? Because you need that to investigate. And sometimes it's also a matter of looking at physical controls to see who was coming into the building, who was badging into the data center, which items were trying to access the servers. All of these things work together. Okay? But I think you've all done very, very well. It's been a fantastic 4 weeks. I think those of you who go online to ISC2 and see if you were to get the personal training or be part of the boot camp, this session would have been a few $100 US, even though you can get the course materials free. But it was my pleasure to serve you. And I am going to encourage you to stay on your path. I am going to share my email with you that if you want to reach out and get any more information or access to information, I will try and share that with you. Or if any of you fail, that I will definitely be able to see if I can help you to get the reset or get some additional information. So I'm putting my information in the chat. If you felt that the course was of any benefit to you, please give us a good Google review so that others can benefit from what we're trying to do. What we're happy about is that we had a few hundred people that registered, and we had people as far as Ethiopia that have signed up for this course and have done the exam. So we have many more people all over the world who are part of this. So thank you very much. And again, feel free to reach out. And but it kept saying, try that email that I just put inside there again, right? And use that one exactly. And I will try to definitely contact with you. Okay. But thank you, everyone. And let's stay in touch. And I look forward to speaking with you again in the future. Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.